Welcome to another Minecraft video out of the series Tips for Building. In this episode I want to cover the topic of what I call cross-level building. It is basically to build at a hillside and to use several different techniques to make the buildings look nice even though you are moving up or down separate levels on the hillside. So first of all I'm going to show you one easier technique to achieve that, then a little bit harder technique or a little bit more complicated, and then a technique which is meant for single buildings which are standing alone in, for example, at a hill as the only building all around there. So let's just start. So let's start with the easiest technique, which is to predefine certain areas as one level and then simply define another layer or another area as the second level, and then the third and the fourth, and so on. So for example, this quarter right here, which is a work in process or still, was, fun fact, inspired simply by this tower which I built into a house, and then I got the idea that this could be all as well like a standalone tower, and implemented it into the wall, and then I got the idea of building this quarter with the separate levels. So what you first of all need, the key to this technique, is to use something as the border for the separate levels. So in this case I used a wall. You could as well use a natural border like a cliff, or as well a few like a hill going 3 blocks up and 3 blocks to the sides. So something that you move up a little bit. And the key to this impression that it goes uphill is not only that the buildings are always 4 blocks higher or 5 blocks higher, as the respective levels are higher, but also the buildings right up on the front here are a little bit smaller than the ones, for example, in the middle, and then these have 1 story more added to them, and the ones in the back, once again, 1 story more. So as you come up here, so you of course see this market square, and then you have several houses right on this level. So as you can see, the ground level doesn't change around here. You don't have the terrain going up or down 1 block or even 2 like it is, for example, in the rest of the city. So you have first of all the houses, for example, like this one, which starts at this level but has 1 story more, which is connected to this level up here. So you have an entrance right here. And then there's another level and another level right here. Then you have like this small shed, and these houses right here, as you can see, no change in the terrain right here on the ground, and then you have simply a staircase going up. The same thing continues on the second level right here. So once again we have this house which started at the first level, and now we have several more houses continuing like here. So what you pretty much do with this technique, as you can see, is to simply go to a hill and say, like, this part here should be level 2, this part here should be level 3, and as you can see it isn't finished up here, and it won't be for a pretty long time because I lost interest in building this, but it's in a good shape of being an example. So yeah, as I said, first of all, define certain regions where you build houses, then go up by using a borderline, for example, a wall or a cliff, and then build houses on the next level, and then the next and the next and the next and so on. I wouldn't do this too much, so I think if you did a whole town with this won't look too good. I never tried it. If you want to and you have tons of time, you can try to make a town or a city solely using this kind of technique, but I think at some point it gets annoying to just go up and down these many levels. So I think 3 or 4 or 5 layers are a good good threshold to keep in mind. So this is the first technique. The second technique is way more complicated because we switch layers or levels really quickly, and the best way to show you, the best example I have right here, even though it is quite outdated, are the Thessarian old quarters, which I introduced I think in a video 2 years ago or something like that. So it's really old, but still those buildings, even though they are outdated, still serve as a good example for this. So as you can see here, right after entering the quarter, we already go up one block without any wall design or something being here. You could add a small wall here, but then it would lose its flair, lose its charm. So at this layer, once again, we have a few houses right here. So at this point, it's starting similarly to the other one, to the first technique, but we're only with a 1 block high rise in the layer. And then this is one of the few borders right here, so a kind of wall design right here where you can go up 2 blocks and access another layer. And for example, right here, it's just a staircase alongside the hillside, so as we go up here we find several more houses, and even this house is on a different layer than this one, so the entrance to this building, or the layer of this building, is 1 block higher than at this building. And as we go down here we access the main square, and even though all these buildings look like they are based on the level that we are right now, this building, for example, is really based on the level down here. So as we go down here into the building, this is actually a room higher than the others, and the base of the house is basically two blocks further down. And it can be better seen back here. So as you can see here, this used to be a hill, or still is a hill, and on this side they also used to be a hill, and this was simply a small passage. So what I did was, as you can see, to build a bridge across here so you can access it through here. And this first of all has, of course, optical reasons, because it's simply pretty. At least that's what I think. And also, since this part right here, as you can see, is on a hill which is also not accessible from the outside, so if somebody wanted to get up here, he'd have to climb up here or something. So we are in the medieval ages, it's hard to get up hills or even to climb cliffs with an armor on, so this is also a reason for the defense of this small hill right here. And the only access you really have is across this bridge. So this serves as a protection, and at the same time it serves to give a kind of more three-dimensional look to the whole quarter right here. So as we continue here, we can go up on this side and we eventually land on this kind of medium or middle layer right here, and from here we go 2 blocks up to access the same layer we had here before. As you can see here, there's a staircase going up to the catapult, which is on top of this hill. And if we continue our way right here, we go up several blocks before the foundations of this house start. Also, there's a house right here, and this is a pretty nice example of this gatehouse. I don't really quite like the design, but at least not anymore. But it's a good example of, for example, the entrance of this area. As you can see, even at the entrance, you still have to go 2 blocks up to even get into the quarter, and at the other side of the quarter, it's, I think, 3 or 4 blocks further down. So this entrance to the quarter, which is the second entrance, is 4 or 5 blocks lower than this one, even though while you are walking through the quarter you don't really get the impression that you moved 5 blocks up, because you constantly go up blocks, then up some blocks again, then you go down and up again. So this is pretty much the technique, that you go tiny steps up and down, and at the end you don't really have any feeling anymore, or any real sense at which layer you are right now. So how many blocks did you move up or down? This technique is quite, not complicated, but it can get quite tricky at some points when you end up in a situation that you don't know how to, for example, cross this one block. Maybe one building was too small or too big, so you have to redefine it. You can have some difficulties with it, but it can be really nice in the end. And this is, for example, an example. Really smart sentence right here. where what you can do to get to a completely different layer. So as you can see, we are going up here, I think 12 or 13 blocks. So instead of simply making a staircase going up straight right here, we make a little curve right here where I used once again this kind of wall design. And up here, this is once again another example. This house down here, which has its original entrance right here, has another entrance on this layer. And this is also a nice thing to make the houses look a little bit more interesting if you have separate layers and separate entrances on these layers. And then as you can see, this is just once again a medium level, and from here you get up to this level where you continue with multiple buildings over here. I'm not going to show you around there because otherwise we're simply going to waste too much time. And finally, this last technique is mostly meant for single buildings and not really for many buildings that stand next to each other in a certain area, because it kind of loses its charm after a while. So as you can see, this house ends right here at the mountain, at the hillside, and over here it once again crosses layers and is slowly but surely consumed by the hill, or basically it's cut into the hill. And as you can see here, the hill steadily rises even though the house continues. You have to be careful with this kind of look because it can look at some points quite ugly. If you, for example, take dirt and or grass and leave, for example, these kind of dark spots right here, this can get quite ugly. But this is a pretty cute example for this. And even though inside you don't really notice that there's any change, or that you are inside the hill, except for maybe that there aren't any windows around. So you really have to be careful and it's not really that big of an advantage to put too much of the building into the hillside. In the end you will end up, or you could end up with some of the first tries I did with that, or basically something that I did for a long time, which is kind of something like this. This kind of looks quite ridiculous because there's so much of the building going inside the hillside, and especially the roof is way too straight, or it ends so sudden even though it is right at the hillside. So this is too, I would say, too unnatural. There's no crossing of layers for the building itself, so it's hard to describe, but I guess you get a good feeling what's the difference between this building and the one we were just at. Well, and these are all the 3 techniques I wanted to show to you in this video. I hope you found this video helpful. Please post a comment if I forgot anything, or if you struggle to understand something at some point. Then we'll try to answer your question or to clarify your question in the comments, or if it was maybe a big topic that I forgot to mention, then maybe I'll make another video about it. So please help me to help you. And yeah, with that, there's nothing really left to say for me, but I've been Madness64, and as always, please rate, comment, subscribe, join the crew, and come and meet today. Do as you will, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Bye bye.